Thank you everyone for coming. This is After Hours, as we all know, and we have Lindsey Rosenblatt here today from BU. She's going to talk about AdLab there and her campaign, Fuck It Won't Cut It, and all sorts of cool things. So if you want to just take it away.
Yeah, sure. Hey guys, thanks for coming to listen. I'll just share my screen. Yeah, cool. Okay, I'm Lindsey. Nice to meet you guys. So just a quick agenda. So we'll go over like who I am and then what AdLab is. That's what I'm a part of at school, and also the campaign. So I'm Lindsey. I'm a senior at BU studying advertising. I'm from LA and I went to high school with Mo and Cassidy, who's also in this. And I'm the vice president of AdLab, which is our BU student run ad agency. And I'm a copywriter for Fuck It Won't Cut It, which is our COVID-19 safety awareness campaign at BU. And for the future, I definitely want to just do copywriting. I really like that. But that's about it that I know about my future. So first off, like what is AdLab? So we're the largest student-run ad agency in America, operating out of the comm school at BU. And we work with real clients and create real work for them. And our slogan is we're inspiring the next, because we really want to give students a real hands-on experience about like what it's like to work in an ad agency and creating work for them. And this is our logo on the left-hand side. We just rebranded. So some of the clients that we have this semester is Shriners Hospital, which is local in Boston. And then we work with a lot of local companies, but we also work with some bigger names like Hasbro. And then we also work with some advertising agencies that give us client work. So Hill Holiday, AMP Agency, and Full Contact we've been working with this semester. And it's really cool because you get to like participate in some focus groups if they need it for the agency. And we get like some real experience there. And then just a quick overview of how it works. So basically, it's a course that you can take at BU. It's an elective credit. And so we have about 120 students that are a part of it. And when you sign up for the class, you interview for a different department in the agency. So we have the account management department, which works with the client, the project management department, which keeps everybody on track, the strategy department, which is kind of the research behind everything. And then of course, the creative department, who's creating all the work. And so each student gets assigned a client, and there's about eight students that work per client. So that's a little bit about AdLab. And so basically when COVID-19 hit, me and my partner, Hannah, who's the president, we were asked to work on this COVID-19 campaign kind of through AdLab with PR Lab. We have a PR version of this also. So it's about 8 of us that got together to create this campaign. And so now I'll talk about Fuck It Won't Cut It, which is the student run campaign at BU. So just to see the team, this is a snapshot. So we have 2 copywriters, I'm one of them, 2 art directors, and then we have 2 strategists, and then 3 public relations people. And we've expanded our team since the summer because we started working on this in June, by the way. And we expanded our team since then because it picked up a lot once school started. So this was a challenge that BU basically brought to us in June. And that was the fact that we needed to, so everyone was in quarantine, and then BU made the decision to like bring students back to campus in August. And so we needed, in order for this to work successfully this semester, we needed to educate the students about how to follow these new COVID guidelines, and also motivate people to like modify their daily lives to follow these rules in order for us to be able to stay on campus this semester. And we realized the key to be successful is to entertain and engage students, and also create this share-worthy content so that it really seems like it's a community that's coming together to make a change. So one of the first steps that we did in order to come up with this campaign was to do focus groups. So we did a lot of research at first about like what Gen Zs are like, and like also how they're reacting to COVID-19. I'm sure you guys remember the headlines of all the crazy spring breakers and all of that. So we weren't looking too good to the rest of America about how Gen Zs were reacting to COVID-19. But we wanted to see what BU was thinking, the students, about coming back to campus. So we did 3 focus groups, and we did a diverse set of like ages, classes, backgrounds, races, and gender. And we asked them questions about like how they feel about coming back to campus, and also how they want BU to handle the situation. So this is just a quick overview of the people that we were interviewing. So you can see that everyone had different majors, different ages, and different parts of campus. So one of the first questions we asked was, how do you feel about BU reopening? And not surprisingly, 80% agreed that they were excited to come back in the fall. So people really just wanted to get out of their high school bedrooms, which I did too. And people were excited to see their friends, and people just wanted to get back to the campus atmosphere as well. Two of the common points of concern here was the idea that people were nervous that they were going to be the only ones following the rules compared to everyone else. No one really had faith in any of their peers that they were going to follow the rules too. And we were all scared about being kicked off of campus abruptly because it already happened to us last semester. We also asked people, like, do you even look to BU as the institution for advice? And 70% said that they don't really look to BU for advice, which isn't that surprising because based on our Gen Z research, we found that Gen Zs don't really want to look to the authority, and people were kind of like set in our own ways. And so about 60% of people mentioned that they don't really want to look to BU as an institution for advice, but they look more to the people. So students, their peers, professors, or their mentors are more people that they'll listen to, but they're not going to listen to BU as an institution. We also wanted to ask, how do you think BU should even handle this situation in the first place? And so 60% agreed that an aggressive approach is probably going to be best. And that goes because people were nervous at first that no one else would follow the rules. And they just want this aggressive approach to get people to rise to the occasion and follow these guidelines. So based off of all that research that we got and all of our initial research too about Gen Zs, this is the campaign that we came up with. So the main insight behind here is that Gen Zs, they feel invincible to COVID-19 because we're young, we're gonna be fine if we get it, like it doesn't really matter. So we're cutting ourselves slack for breaking these small rules. And we also played off the insight that I'm sure you guys are all familiar with this phrase that students all over campus say fuck it to responsible behaviors. So this is something that we really tapped into. And I'll just set the stage of how this is used on campus. So should I study for my exam? Fuck it. No, I'm just going to go out and party tonight. And then tomorrow morning, like I'll study for like 30 seconds and then fail the exam. Doesn't matter. Should I hang out with my close friends during COVID? Fuck it, because they're my best friends. There's no way that they have COVID. I don't need to worry about it. It doesn't matter. So based off of all of this, like we needed people to realize that fuck it is just not going to cut it this semester. So we needed to call out students on their bullshit and remind them that saying fuck it to these small rules can lead to way bigger consequences and even could send us home again for another semester. So now more about the campaign. So this is kind of like our brand manifesto that we wrote, which kind of introduced this campaign to everybody. So I'll just read it really quick. Rowdy parties, all-nighters, and hanging with friends 24/7. That's college. We aren't losing it. We're just pressing pause. We can't miss another semester. We can't take another Zoom class, and we certainly can't spend any more time in our high school bedrooms. That sucked, right? It's on us. Carelessness will put us back to square one. So fuck it, won't cut it. So where could you find us? So we're all over social media. That was like the main part of our launch because we were all at home when we launched this campaign in August. So we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, and we're also on TikTok. So this was the first post that we posted, and we posted it on August 9th. So we were coming back to school around August 20th. And this post got 545 reshares and was sent to other people. And it also reached over 15,000 accounts. So this was a crazy week because this was our soft launch, which we were expecting to just launch it to our friends and family just to see if it like stuck at all. But then it ended up catching on. We made news within the first week, and we gained over thousands of followers in the first week of launching this campaign. And the 4 creatives, we were a little bit stressed because we had to come up with more content because we had nothing planned for that week besides this post. So it was a crazy week, but really exciting. So something that's cool about this campaign is that since it's completely student run, we can talk about all the taboo subjects that BU as an institution would never talk about. And so basically the formula of this campaign is that we always preface everything with what CDC recommends, but we know that as college students, people aren't really going to be following exactly what CDC wants you to do. So we want to give people safer alternatives to do like normal life things. So for example, the hookup culture in college, like having sex. CDC says that your safest sex partner and your second most safest sex partner is somebody that you live with. But we know that people are not really going to be doing that. So this is a post that we gave suggestions on how to have safer sex in a COVID-19 world. We also talk about like hanging out with your friends. So we know that you're really not supposed to be hanging out with big groups of people. And so we wanted to give tips on how you can make it safe to hanging out with your group of friends. And also, it's really hard as a freshman coming into college during now. So we also give a lot of tips to freshmen on how to even make friends in the first place. We also talk about like drugs and drinking because you really can't share things, and because that passes COVID. So one thing that we know that everyone's doing is smoking weed. And so you can't share joints or bongs, and that's something that we wanted to cover in this campaign as well. So this was one of our most popular posts, which I'm sure you see why. So it was fun to cover this also. We also needed students to realize that like not everyone at BU is 21. So like not everyone is low risk for COVID. And also you don't know who is high risk. So we have posts also that remind students that BU is like a whole community of people of all different ages. And it's not just about you. So that's also why you should follow rules. Another extension of our campaign is the BS meter, which is like our Instagram story campaign. And so this basically like debunks myths that are like flying around campus and giving students the right information. So I definitely use things that my friends have said to me and put them into this post. So this one's about like being young, that it doesn't matter if you get COVID. And so we rate how BS that is, and then we give you the facts. So we took over BU's campus as well, which was really exciting for us. So we weren't just on social media. So we took over all the on-campus bathrooms and elevators, and we put stickers in them, and also the school buildings too. So all the stickers that are on mirrors or on elevators are just reminding you about daily things like remembering to wash your hands after touching an elevator button, or to change your mask daily. And we also use them as good photo ops for people too, because we know that everyone loves mirror selfies. So a lot of BU students have been posting mirror selfies with our campaign stickers in them, which is also just helping gain traction on social media. We also have a ton of posters everywhere. So this is a photo, sorry, it's bad quality, but this is a photo in front of one of the biggest freshman dorms on campus. And so it's just daily reminders about following the rules. So for example, one rule we have is that every BU student has to get tested 2 times a week for COVID. So that's why we have this post over here, like, you look different today. Did you test last night? We also took over the BU buses. So these buses drive around our campus, which is 2 miles like up and down one street. But it also, since we're a city school, it drives around all of the city of Boston. So we actually had to get this approved by the mayor because it has profanity on it. So this was exciting for us because we honestly didn't think this was going to be possible. But so we also have it over all the BU buses too, which is cool to just see it drive by. That's another shot. We also took over like other parts of campus too. So this rock is called the Greek rock on campus. And it's a rock that Greek life kind of fights over, like painting it with their Greek letters. And it's a competition at school and everyone knows the rock. So we decided as the campaign to take over the rock. And we actually were able to keep this for like a month. So that was really exciting because normally when a sorority or a frat spray paints it, it like gets taken down like the next day. So this was cool for us. Also, a recent extension too is a podcast. So we created a podcast for this to kind of help like guide people through this crazy time. So we basically just interview professionals in each episode. They're about like 20 minutes long. And so our first 2 episodes were about like being a freshman during COVID-19 and how you can make friends. And then we also talk a lot about mental health in the campaign too. So we had an episode specifically about mental health too. We also have brand ambassadors. So at the beginning of the semester, we hired around like over 50 brand ambassadors to represent us on campus. So as part of the campaign, we made swag items too. So we have t-shirts and cups and bottle openers and stickers. And so our brand ambassadors help pass them out around campus. And they also just represent us on campus and keep eyes open about giving us content ideas. They tell us like what rules people are really breaking and what we should focus on more. So we really just have eyes all over campus. And since we have so many of them, we like delegated them into groups. So we have one group that specifically focuses on off-campus living. We have another group that focuses on social life, and then we have another group that focuses on like health and safety. So they've been really helpful just giving us content ideas. Oh, this is a TikTok. Yeah, so they make a lot of our TikToks, which is great because then we don't have to do them. So it's really nice to have people involved. And that's something that we just do on our TikTok, is to get as many like BU students involved as possible. We also got all the student organizations to share these posts on their social media accounts. And this was really helpful too, just to show that like this campaign is super collaborative. Like it's not just us focusing on it. So we want all the other groups on campus to really get involved. These are the student government logos, and then this is just a club on campus. So how did we do this? So I talked about it a little bit before about the focus group, but the first, from a creative standpoint, if you're interested, I just thought I would add a few slides about like how to create the campaign. So first we had to come up with multiple different concepts, because obviously like we couldn't just go with this one. So the first we created 3 different concepts. And these are the 3 ideas. And there were problems with the other ones. So one of them was called Smart Now, Stupid Later. And that one was kind of focusing on the fact that like, if we all follow the rules now, like later on we can party and like be college kids again. And then the other idea was kind of playing off of like Cards to Save, Cards Against Humanity, but we called it Cards to Save Humanity. And it was going to be like a card game based on like following the rules and staying safe. But as a team, we all loved Fuck It Won't Cut It, just because it's such a catchy phrase, and like we all really were feeling that. But we had to present to like the heads of BU like 3 different campaign ideas. So from there, they narrowed it to 2 different concept ideas, and we had to create rough versions of all of it. So here's just a few examples of like the first creations of this campaign. And as you can see, it looks pretty much the same, but the copy is really different. We had to go through a lot of different rounds of copy to figure out the right way to really catch people's attention. So the copy went through a lot of different drafts, but the art people like really had their stuff down, so they were great. And this was like one of the first versions. This is the first version we ever created of the campaign. And then the third step was to sell it, because I'm sure you realize that BU did not, it's hard to sell a campaign with the F word in it. So we had to convince people why we are using the F word, and to show people that we weren't just using it to say it, it actually had meaning. So one of the first reasons is that we wanted to be edgy with a purpose. So like I said before, Gen Zs don't really trust the authorities. So they don't really put a lot of trust in people of power. And Gen Z is super politically liberal and increasingly activists. We're fed up with the status quo. So we really needed something that would break through the noise and would not just like be some annoying campaign to like be safe. We also wanted to be relatable. So Gen Z, we found through research, also desires authenticity from brands. And so they really want an experience and to feel involved in it. So that's something that we really wanted to focus on, which hence is the reason why we used Fuck It as part of the campaign. Gen Zs also talk about these taboo subjects. So that's why we wanted to talk about them too. It also just works. So similar to the Fuck Cancer campaign, Fuck Cancer says exactly how people feel about cancer. Like, it sucks, fuck cancer. So that's something that we wanted to get across in this campaign too, and just be really straight up with students. Like, fuck it, won't cut it. Like, you can't be careless this semester. So it says it all in just one slogan. Also, we needed to prove to BU that it's more than just the F word. So it's also a mindset. Like, this is something that we toss around in conversation all the time. So right when we say it, you know exactly what we're trying to say. And so this messaging really sticks in people's heads, and it's cool to hear people say it all the time around BU too. It's also a toolkit. So we didn't want to be like this finger wagging, annoying like BU institution campaign. We wanted to be relatable and friendly and just provide these like safer alternatives, like I showed you guys before, how we talk about all these other things that you do in your daily college life and how you can keep doing it, but just safer. And so one thing we also do is like Instagram story takeovers as well. And so we get different people around campus to talk about how to do things safely. So we had somebody from like the health department at BU talk about it. They're all students too. And so it's really cool. We had someone show us how to like create a mask from scratch, which was interesting. And it's also a movement. So I also mentioned that Gen Z didn't really have a great rep with COVID-19. So we want to show the world that we can actually make college work in a pandemic if we all follow the rules and are like conscious of it. And so we have people wearing our swag all around campus. So it really shows that like it's a community aspect and that we can come together and keep things safe. So reactions. So we had over 5,000 followers in the first 6 weeks, which was exciting. And we have over 50 brand ambassadors, and we get about 20 DMs a day about inquiries from other colleges wanting our campaign or getting involved in our campaign, or also different like companies around Boston that are interested in collaborating with us. And then we also just get content ideas from students at BU. We made press within the first week because somebody found out that BU filed a trademark for this campaign, so that really brought us to the forefront. And so we made local and national news, which was really exciting. And I was actually featured on one of a live TV thing, and my first national, or not national, local TV appearance was me saying the word "fuck" is how it began. So a great story. And so, of course, with this campaign, it's a controversy. So we had a lot of negative reactions too. And a lot of it was not from the students, it was from the parents. And so some people felt that like this was a PR stunt to just blame students. A lot of people had theories that it wasn't actually student run, that it was really BU doing it and they just wanted to act like it was student run. People also were kind of annoyed with our like snarky tone. They felt that we needed to be more serious and really like be finger wagging, but that's just not who we are. And people also just thought like a slogan is just not going to make things safer whatsoever. But at the same time, we had a lot of positive reactions. So something great about this campaign is that BU has this website with like all of the rules, but it's so much information to read through that it's like exhausting and no one reads it. So part of this campaign is clarifying all of the protocols that we have on campus and making it easier for students to read. People also liked it because it was an aggressive approach. It was really getting people to follow the rules and kind of like making it cool to follow the rules around campus also. It had like this peer pressure aspect. Yeah, so that's the campaign. You guys can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We're at Fuck It Won't Cut It without the U. And same with our website, Fuck It Won't Cut It, if you want to read more about us. Thank you. And if you want to connect with me, here's my email and my LinkedIn and my Instagram. And also if you're interested in looking more into AdLab too. Yeah. And so if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
That was so amazing. Thank you. I was getting so many texts during that about how impressed everyone is. So I cannot believe how much you guys accomplished. I think to start off, maybe Miles and I will ask a few questions and then open it to the room if that works for everyone.
Sure. Should I stop sharing my screen?
Yeah, maybe. And then we can just look at everyone's smiling faces / names. So I was wondering, just watching this, you talked about a little bit, but how did you deal with BU and their branding guidelines and pushing them to really put out the content you wanted? I know you said it was kind of tough with the slogan to begin with, but how kind of did you guys navigate that?
Yeah, so basically, one of the head of affairs at BU is the one who asked us to do this, and he had experience in advertising. And he knew that the only way, he's a really smart guy, and he knew that the only way to really get people to follow the rules was to make this completely student run. So basically, we weren't really given a lot of rules. We were just told to cover the protocols and do whatever you need to do to get people to follow these rules. So we're allowed to talk about really anything we want. Obviously, we go through a lot of like approval process internally to make sure it's not something offensive or like anything like that. But actually getting the campaign approved, it was really interesting because for the most part, all of the president of BU loved the campaign right away. And it was really surprising to all of us because we thought there was no way you would be down to do this. And we got a lot of support from the higher ups at BU. There was, of course, some people who were concerned, but everyone agreed like unanimously, I cannot say the word, whatever, that like people that we needed to do a harsh approach. And this is like, it's just something that resonates with students. And that's the thing that they needed. And so we honestly were kind of smooth sailing once we got this approved. And we still have been smooth sailing. We really have gotten a lot of support from BU, and they put a lot of trust in us, which is nice.
That's so nice. I wish our admin was more hand in hand with us. Miles, do you want to ask the next one?
Yeah, I had a question about copywriting. So this is largely like a copy-based campaign. Like obviously the visuals go hand in hand, but I feel like the copy really drives it home. So I wanted to ask, like, kind of how many rounds of back and forth you went through, like what the whole process kind of looked like, and also, oh my gosh, and also, so like the process about it, and also what did you learn doing copy for this that you wouldn't have learned in a classroom?
Yeah. So the copy process was really interesting because we had to figure out what the tone was, and it took a long time. So me and Chris, who's my copy partner, we have like a 30-page document of like random stuff that we just have been like writing. And when we first started, like we knew that we wanted the campaign to have like this snarky, like funny tone, kind of, or not funny, but like relatable aspect. And so that was something that we really tried to like hone in. But like I showed you in the roughs, like we weren't there at first. And so it took a lot of revisions and a lot of different ways to figure out like how we wanted it to work. And something that helped us was the fact that we were working on those three different concepts, and we had a different tone of voice for those three different concepts. And with the Smart Now, Stupid Later campaign, we were writing in a way that was more like less aggressive and more relatable. And we realized that that was something that we needed to channel more into with the Fuck It Won't Cut It campaign, being more like relatable instead of like aggressive, like don't do this, like don't do that. So we realized that that's something that is important to keep in mind. And we just like, once we got our tone down, which took like the entire summer basically, now it's really easy for us to push out content because we know our tone really well. And like whenever we're given like a topic to cover, we're able to just write it up. But usually like those initial headlines, like it took like 50, like a line of like 50, a page of like 50 different headlines to figure out like what was the best one. And of course we ran it by everyone on our team too, especially for topics like about like sex and drugs. Like we wanted to make sure we were covering it in the best way possible. And then something that I also learned from this that I don't think I really would have learned from class. Well, a few things, but first is perspectives. Perspectives are really important, and it's really hard to write from someone else's perspective. So I was writing from my own perspective, and it was very noticeable. People were like, it's a white girl who's in a sorority who's writing this. And I was like, and my partner is like also like a white guy who goes to BU. So that was something that we really struggled with, and we realized it was showing through the copy. And BU is a pretty diverse school, so we really wanted to like resonate with everyone on campus. So that made us realize that we needed to talk to a lot of people around campus too. So we started talking to all different groups on campus to figure out like, where do they hang out? Like what's their favorite things to do? What are their favorite parts about BU? So then we could create content that like is touching on those relatable aspects also. So that was a big thing I learned, was like my perspective is not the same as everyone else's. And like it's something that you really need to keep in mind. And then secondly is, I think, dealing with feedback. Like that was something I learned in class, but also when you're with this campaign that's like so real and like people are just commenting like how they feel on your posts, like it's hard not to take it personally at first because it's like, oh, like I wrote that and someone thinks it's so bad. And so like it was hard to at first to like take feedback and learn how to like work it out and make it better. But that was something that I learned was taking taking feedback without taking it personally, and also being able to channel it into the content, um, and just finding ways to keep it interesting, because I've been working on this since June, and it's at this point it's hard to start thinking about new ideas since it seems old to me, but it's still new to other people. So that's another thing that I'm still learning right now, is how to keep a campaign relevant that's going on for so long. And we just found out that this campaign is going to last for next semester as well. So that's something that we're really going to focus on, is how to be relevant and how to not be boring, because now it's kind of just blending in with the walls. So we kind of want to take a new approach to our copy.
Well, we will all be watching as it changes next semester too, for sure. And kudos to you to figuring out feedback, because social media is scary. Kind of pivoting back to what you were mentioning about the 3 different copy tones that you guys were working with, from an art perspective, was there different style guides and things like that when you were figuring out the different tones you were going with? Did you pair different ones, or always want to do this one?
Yeah, so all 3 of them had completely different looks. The Smart Now Stupid Later was more of a softer tone. It looked like more of those stylish infographics that you see on Instagram, something more trendy, and they were soft colors, and it looked a lot more, I want to say, inviting, but because Fuck It Won't Cut It's kind of just in your face. And the other one was more softer colors. And the Cards to Save Humanity one kind of looked exactly like the card game, was something we were trying to, but we didn't have an exact color palette for that yet. And so we decided we really liked the look and feel of Fuck It Won't Cut It, because all the different textures that we had on it, and the red really popped out on people's feeds, and that was the goal. We wanted to break through the noise, and so we felt that having those interesting textures and having a really bright color would help people look at it. And we also really liked something that inspired our art directors was the collage look, and the sticker effect, which is something that we really wanted to channel in this campaign also. And all the reasons for why this looks the way it is to stick out at people and to bother them and stop their feed and all of that. And the other 2 campaigns didn't really have that.
Definitely, that makes a ton of sense. Kind of on the same vein as that, do you think as you're kind of trying to refresh it going to next semester, will you keep the same style, or are you planning on bringing in anything new there?
Yeah. So we haven't really discussed it yet, but I think that we will keep, because we are a brand now, so we're definitely going to keep what our brand look and feel is. We're not going to change our logo, and maybe we started adding some newer colors. We have some blues going on in our feed too. But one thing, I actually was at this focus group at the beginning of this week with the dean and some other BU students, and a lot of them were just telling us that I've seen so much Fuck It Won't Cut It stuff, and now it's just blending into the walls, and I don't really care anymore. So I think that we do need to do some type of look refresh, because all of our Instagram posts, they kind of look the same. They have the same attitude to them. So that's something that we're definitely going to reconsider, but we'll still maintain the brand.
Very cool. Oh, sorry, Miles, I totally cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just gonna ask about the other side of strategy, because you had a lot of good insights in your deck. So I just wanted to talk about how closely the creatives worked with strategy throughout something like this, because it is largely information based.
Very, very closely. I don't know where this campaign would be without the strategy. First of all, our strategist, Hannah, who's my partner also in AdLab, she's incredible. And so she basically created, the first thing that I ever saw of this campaign was all we were given was by BU was, you need to get people to follow these COVID rules. And we're okay, how do we do that? So our strategist basically really delved into everything about Gen Z and how they're reacting to COVID and how we feel about authority and how would you feel if like BU told you to stay home and never go out? Like they were trying to see how like how COVID was affecting Gen Zs and how Gen Zs feel about power in general. So she put together this whole deck basically for the creative team, me and the three others, and she presented it to us. And she created a key insight for us, which was basically the idea, or a key like motivator for the campaign, which was basically like, we just want to return back to campus with at the campus we love with the people we love, and we want to stay there and be safe. And that was the main like goal of this entire campaign. It's just to stay on campus. And so with that and the focus group information, it really inspired us on how we should handle or approach this topic, because from all the research we found that Gen Zs don't care about like authorities at all. So we wanted to make this the opposite of authority by talking like using fuck in our campaign name and talking about sex and drugs and like social life and all of that, so that it really didn't seem like it was coming from BU. And we wanted to do like a peer culture influence basically on social media. We wanted people to share content, think it's cool, and get their friends to follow it. And currently, like everything we post has to be fact checked because all of our content is based on facts. So that was something I also learned at the beginning. You can't just post something without getting it fact checked, because then it blows up. And like we had all these grad students like tweeting us and everything saying like we're not capable of this campaign in the beginning because we needed to get our facts down. So now we have more of a system. So we hired another strategist who really gathers all of the latest COVID-19 news. She also gives us information on any new topic we want to cover. And so basically how I write now is I'm given like a fact sheet basically, and then we turn it into the post that we post. So we turn it into more like relatable language, and also we make it more bite-sized information too. And then we also have the help from BU too. So like the BU Wellness Center and the Health Center at BU also fact check our things as well. So we go through a series of fact checks now.
Amazing. So cool that you guys have some people on board. Did you have to figure out a better way to balance between your other different campaigns and clients on AdLab to like be able to handle this campaign?
Yeah, so at first, so this is pretty separate from AdLab now. We have about like 11 clients for AdLab, and originally we wanted to make Fuck It Won't Cut It a client for AdLab because it was 4 of us who were creating all of this. It still is 4 of us. And it was getting to be a lot because we all have school and we also have other activities that we're involved in. So we wanted it to be a client at AdLab, but we ended up not making it a client. So it's pretty separate. We just hired new creative interns recently, which is exciting for me. But for AdLab, we don't really work like, and also some of the people who are on the team for Fuck It Won't Cut It aren't in AdLab anymore.
Awesome. Well, before I take up all the time, I wanted to throw it out to the chat. If anyone has any questions you want to ask or write in there, we can read them out loud for you too.
Yeah, I have a question. I was just kind of curious how you keep staying motivated working on this project since it's been going for so long, and like kind of how you keep your ideas fresh and your strategies to do that.
Yeah, great question. So I stay motivated by the students who tell me that it really has made a difference for them, because you can see the difference on campus. Like we really haven't had a lot of cases at BU, which is amazing. And that's definitely because we have a good testing system. People are getting tested 2 times a week, but it's also this mindset. Like there's not really a lot of parties happening at BU, and like everyone always is wearing a mask. And I see that difference when I walk around campus. And so that motivates me because I feel like part of it is because of the campaign maybe. And also we get a lot of like support on social media from people telling us that like, oh, like your post today just like made me want to go outside and go for a walk because that's what you suggested. And so little things like that just make me realize that like it is making a difference, at least in someone's life. And so that motivates me. And then in terms of coming up with new content, there's always new stuff happening in the news. And BU also, with the cases rising in Boston, we have new rules coming out. So that's always part of something that we have to cover. It's just like the relevant news that's happening. And then also in terms of like content, we usually do it like we plan our social posts like only 2 weeks in advance, because it really happens like in the moment what's going on. So if we notice that people are partying more than usual, then we want to talk about partying again. Or if we notice that like everyone, like one thing that people have asked us to cover more about is mental health. So we have a lot more posts coming out about like how people are lonely, and it's like not, it's normal to feel lonely during this time. And also like the fact that no, we don't leave our apartments often, like that also is hard. And there's always new things to talk about, like for freshmen also, about like meeting new people and all of that. And we also want to keep it fresh about like ideas of how to hang out and have fun, and like not just be sitting in your room alone all the time. So we try to generate like new ideas around that as well.
Yeah. And building off that, we have another question in the chat, because you were talking about what keeps you motivated, and it's the people. But Kayla asked, have you ever been able to measure the tangible success of the campaign? And does it seem like students are following guidelines more closely because of the campaign?
Yeah, so we do have a social strategist on our team who gets the insights and the success of like how we're doing on all of our social media accounts. So she uses like a certain software called, I can't remember the name of it, but she uses a software which tells us like how many new followers we got, how many people we reached through a post, how many followers we gained from that post, and what kind of content people are engaging most with. So those are the types. So based on how much engagement we get and how many people look at the screen for a certain amount of time, those are the content types of things that we want to cover more, because it got more engagement. And then in terms of measuring success on campus behavior wise, that's something we're really interested in looking in, and we don't have like a lot of tangible statistics on how students are changing their behavior on campus. But I do like, I just think that it must be working in some way, because we just really don't have a lot of like cases, well, knock on wood, but I'm just noticing like success in even social settings. Like we have a rule that you cannot be hanging out with a group of more than 10 now because of the cases rising. And so people are really conscious about that. And people are also conscious about like wearing masks and keeping your distance. And also getting reshares on social media. Like we get to see how many people are sharing us on their stories and all of that. So that also helps us see like if it really is helping other people.
That's so cool that you can kind of figure out that way, especially with social media. We have 2 more questions in the chat that are a little bit similar, but you might be able to have a slight different answer for these. One, have you seen a difference in COVID cases because of this campaign? And then have you incorporated businesses into this campaign like Collabs?
Yeah, cool. So we've definitely, so kind of the first question is kind of how I just answered, like I'm not exactly sure if it's directly related to the lesser amount of COVID cases, but I just have noticed a change in behavior. And so I don't know if it's from us or not, but I hope it is. And in terms of partnering with businesses, yeah, we do that. We do that, which is really cool. We've had a lot of support from the local businesses in Boston. So we BU has a relationship with Grubhub, so we used Grubhub. We got like Grubhub coupon codes for our campaign. And also we really encourage people to get takeout a lot. So some of the local restaurants come and partner up with us. And then a lot of like different health things around Boston. So like hospitals and things like that. They've been reaching out to us to like share content with us. Like John Hopkins reached out to us, which was cool. And we also get a lot of support from other like universities like you guys. And so other universities are like, how can we have this on our campus? And so unfortunately, we can't like pass over our campaign to other universities as much as I want to, but we encourage other universities to like share our content and to collaborate with us in that way. So we've had like UCLA reached out to us to share our content. And we've just had like different collaborations along those lines too.
Very, very cool. It looks like we have one more question in the chat. So how was the institutional support from the university allow you to enhance the campaign? I might have read that wrong, but along those lines.
Yeah. So enhance, oh, well, the budget is really important. So if you noticed all of our out of home things, none of that would have been possible without BU. And also having BU back this campaign like has made such a difference because the fact that like it really affected students coming back to campus too, because a lot of parents didn't want to send their kids back. And so having BU stand by this campaign that was like using forceful language to follow COVID-19 really helped us as a campaign, just like to make parents realize like, okay, BU is taking this seriously, like we can come back and make this work. And then secondly, like with the budget, like they've really helped us like make basically everything happen that we imagine. Like any crazy idea we have, usually they're down to do it, which is honestly like I don't think this is how the real world works, but we're very lucky. And one thing that we actually recently just had was a Halloween event. So BU also posed the question to we basically had 1 week to come up with a Halloween event to get people to not party. And BU supported us and got us Hassan Minhaj, who's the comedian from the Patriot Act on Netflix, to basically come and do like a Zoom call with all of us and with 2 hosts. And he did like a comedy like Q&A basically. And so we had like over 2,000 people come for the Zoom call on a Saturday, like on Halloween Saturday night. And we called it Hassan Saves Halloween. And that was crazy. I actually felt like I was working on like I felt like I've been working on a real campaign, but that time was like crazy because we had 24 hours to come up with like whatever to call this event and to come up with all of the promotional content because it had to get reviewed by his people before we posted it, because we also did this a week before it happened. So I had to skip all my classes and do these like promotional content for him. And so it was just a really cool experience. But that's another example of how BU just is really like committed to our campaign and basically was put it in the hands for us to figure out how to like get people not to party on Halloween.
Well, I think I can speak for all of us when I say if there's another one, we can all pretend to be BU students and happily come. And then I think just kind of to wrap it up, we'd love to just hear about if you have any advice for students who are looking to also get their work out there and try to start something up like this or anything like that, just any advice you have from along the way.
Yeah. So first is passion. Like you have to be really passionate about whatever you're creating a campaign about. And that's something I didn't really realize until this campaign came along, because this like felt like my baby. Like it felt like something that I like cared so much about. And like I just thought about it all the time. And like over the summer, I don't know if that's because I was in quarantine, but over the summer, like I just really thought about it. Like I was so passionate about it and I really cared about everyone. I still care obviously about people being safe on campus. And so I think when you're creating a campaign, it's really important to make sure that this is something you really, really care about, because when working on a campaign like this takes up a lot of your time. And so making sure that it's something you really like is important. And then also, as you can see in this campaign and how Miles asked, like a strategy is so important. So having your strategy like as a roadmap for your campaign is super important. So if you're trying to create a campaign, make sure you have a really solid strategy and a key insight to like basically drive your campaign. And then I think it's also really important to like the people that you work with. Like the people that I worked with, I didn't know any of them except for 2 of them. And we all met on Zoom in June, and I didn't meet them in person until September. And so, but we somehow like created a connection between all of us, and like we just all really vibed and we spent the extra time to get to know each other. And that's how me and my partner Chris like worked so well together as copywriters, even though I didn't even know him in June. And so because we really spent the extra time to get to know each other, and we were able to like use that connection to help us create good content. So I think that's important as well. And also just maintaining the same tone of voice and the same art direction throughout all of your content is something important. Like always keeping your brand in mind, because sometimes there would be posts that we created and we kind of strayed away from what our brand was. Like we got really caught up in all the negative commentary saying that we needed to be more serious and all of that. And so that really like messed with me and Chris when we were writing in the beginning stages, because we were like, maybe we should be more serious about it. But we knew that what we had was like, people told us what we had is good. So we wanted to stick to it. And I think that's something really important also, is just maintaining your brand and standing by it. Yeah, I think that's all that I can think of right now.
Well, thank you very much on behalf of everyone. And we'll make sure to put out your LinkedIn too, so that everybody can add you and see all the amazing things you guys keep doing. And with that, I think we're going to wrap it up. But we also wanted to just let everyone know that We Are Next is doing their first workshop right after this, starting at 5. Michael and Kelsey just left a prep for that. So I'm going to drop the link in the bio in case anyone else wants to be on Zoom for another hour, because it's so fun. And thank you all for coming, especially Lindsey.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so nice to meet all of you.
Thanks for
and
coming.
follow Bucket
Thank you.
Won't Cut It.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.